Oh, have you seen that video where the World Economic Forum talks about what's going to happen in 2030? And it says you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
No.
GameFile says new law will change how digital games are sold, at least in California. Terms such as buy and purchase will be barred unless a seller clearly warns users they are paying for a license that could be revoked.
What if I told you that the movies you've bought, the books you've downloaded, and even your favorite video games could vanish without warning?
Right here we have a tweet from Jeff Rousseau that has gone kind of viral, 2.1 million views. He tweeted, "This is why physical media matters. Apparently, play does have limits."
No theft, no breakage, just gone. And the worst part? The companies you trusted to sell them to you can legally make it happen.
Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for preferring streaming over physical media. That's not what this video is going to be about.
This isn't just about a glitch in the system. This is about a fundamental shift in ownership, where everything you think you own is really just rented under someone else's terms. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why our digital lives are hanging by a thread and what you can do to take back control.
8 predictions for the world in 2030. This is real. This is not a parody. This is not the Babylon Bee. This is real. 8 predictions. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Based on the input members of the World Economic Forum, whatever you want, you'll rent and it'll be delivered by drone.
Let's start with Apple. iTunes promised a world of entertainment in your pocket. Songs, movies, and TV shows you could buy and own forever. But that promise is as flimsy as a streaming connection in the middle of nowhere. A recent class action lawsuit against Apple revealed the harsh truth. When you hit buy, you're not actually buying anything. You're licensing it. Legally, that means Apple can revoke your access whenever they want. And they've done it before. Thousands of users have logged in to find movies or songs missing from their libraries with no warning and no refund.
As Ars Technica reports, Apple sued for terminating an account with $25,000 worth of apps and videos. Lawsuits claim people don't truly own content they purchase on digital platforms.
Apple's defense? They didn't sell you the content, they sold you permission to access it under their terms.
As The Hollywood Reporter reports, Apple must face lawsuit for telling consumers they can quote-unquote buy movies and TV shows.
And those terms can change at any time. Apple's not alone in this. In 2019, Microsoft shut down its entire ebook store. Customers who'd purchased books found themselves in a bizarre situation. All their digital books were erased.
And we've talked a lot over the last couple of months about digital versus physical media and the risks of buying digitally. And here's another example of a digital store shuttering, this time from Microsoft, who's closing their ebook shop.
To Microsoft's credit, they refunded all purchases. But let's think about what this means. A tech giant decided they didn't want to stay in the ebook business, and everyone's libraries were wiped out overnight. This wasn't just a failure of service. It was a reminder that your digital purchases exist entirely at the mercy of corporations. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. What happens when a company doesn't offer refunds? Or worse, what if it shuts down altogether?
And again, it just speaks to the volatility sometimes of these digital marketplaces. But at least in the case of Microsoft, they have enough money to compensate people for the loss. As we saw with the Ouya about 2 weeks ago, that store is shuttering and you got nothing.
Now let's talk about streaming. Platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO Max have revolutionized how we watch movies and shows. But they've also redefined what it means to own media. Spoiler alert, you don't own anything. In 2023, HBO Max made headlines for quietly removing a slew of TV shows and films from its platform, including fan favorites like Westworld. These weren't obscure titles, they were beloved high-budget productions. And HBO didn't just stop streaming them.
Recently, we've heard of news that HBO Max is taking down a lot of their trademark shows over on their streaming platform and stopping production of other shows coming in the future.
In some cases, they made the shows entirely inaccessible even for people who had downloaded them. Why did HBO do this? To save money. By pulling shows from their library, they avoided paying residuals to creators. Think about that. Your access to media isn't just at the mercy of licensing agreements, it's subject to corporate cost-cutting measures.
Consumers around the world deserve to understand that when they spend money on digital movies, music, books, and games, those so-called purchases can disappear without notice.
The gaming industry isn't any better. In 2024, scandals involving Sony and Ubisoft revealed just how fragile digital ownership is. Sony had quietly removed older games from its PlayStation Store, making them inaccessible to players who had already purchased them.
So PlayStation, once upon a time, would allow you to rent or purchase digital movies. They've closed down that service, but the idea was that this wouldn't affect existing customers and existing content that has been purchased and that stuff would be accessible. Well, we're looking at a situation now where that content is being removed.
Ubisoft, on the other hand, faced backlash for announcing plans to deactivate access to older titles, even for players who had already bought them. The outrage was so intense that California passed a new law banning deceptive sales of digital goods. Under the new rules, companies are required to clearly disclose whether a digital purchase is permanent or subject to future removal.
The task force concluded consumers would benefit from more information on the nature of the transactions they enter into, including whether they are paying for access to content or for ownership of a copy, in order to instill greater confidence and enhance participation in the online marketplace. And this law was passed in response to that task force as well as a number of other things.
But here's the catch. This law only applies in California. For the rest of the world, the same deceptive practices continue.
Well, Ubisoft, if it ain't Ubisoft with another frick up? No way. How does this happen again?
At this point, you might be thinking, it's just entertainment. Why should I care? But this issue goes far beyond movies, books, or video games. It's about control, censorship, and even history.
Ubisoft is being sued for sharing user data with Meta without users' consent. Seems like their games don't generate them enough money, so they're selling players' data. What the
What happens when controversial films or books are erased from digital platforms? Or when games critical of powerful entities are quietly removed? We've already seen it happen. HBO's removal of content wasn't just about cost-cutting. It was also about control. Imagine if other companies decide to sanitize their libraries, erasing politically inconvenient works or rewriting history to suit their agendas. If everything exists in a digital cloud controlled by corporations, what's stopping them?
I think what we're not noticing is that it's not just anti-repair, it's anti-property ownership in general. And a lot of people keep linking me to this one thing from the World Economic Forum. I keep getting emails with it. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And that is quite a statement. The idea that not only will you own nothing, but you will be happy about the fact that you own nothing.
The root of the problem is this. We've traded ownership for convenience. Streaming platforms, ebooks, and digital games have made life easier, but at a cost. We no longer own our media. We rent it. And when you rent, you're always at someone else's mercy. Convenience is a trap. It gives corporations control over what you see, hear, and play, even how you remember it. So what can we do? While we can't stop companies from prioritizing profits, there are steps you can take to reclaim control. Buy physical media. DVDs, Blu-rays, printed books, and physical copies of games can't be remotely deleted or altered. Yes, it's less convenient, but it's truly yours. Download and backup files. Many platforms let you download content. Store these files on external drives to safeguard against sudden removals. Read the fine print. Before clicking buy, check if your purchase is a license or true ownership. Knowledge is power. Advocate for stronger laws. The California law banning deceptive sales is a step in the right direction. Push for similar legislation in your region. Support platforms with consumer-friendly policies. Look for companies that prioritize ownership and transparency. Spread awareness. Share this video to help others understand the risks. The more informed we are, the harder it will be for corporations to exploit us. Ownership isn't just about having something. It's about control, freedom, and security. Right now, we're giving that up for convenience. And corporations are taking full advantage. If this video opened your eyes, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Check out our other videos for more explorations into the pitfalls of the digital age, along with other shenanigans going on throughout history. And let us know your thoughts in the comments.